Good afternoon, everybody. Hope everyone had a happy Halloween yesterday. Today actually marks the 2 year anniversary of us running Curse of Strahd. But we're not going to be able to play for a little bit, so I figured I might as well go back to Simon and start doing some more solo stuff. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to have a solo session with ChatGPT-5 being the DM for the game. It's worked really well so far. I haven't had that many problems with it. But yeah, so we'll get ChatGPT to give us a synopsis and we'll get into the game. First, some music. I do not own the copyright for this music. It is, well, wonderful soundtrack. Battlestar Galactica, Season 3. And here we go. Now, for the week.
Absolutely. Here's the full cinematic style synopsis of Blades for Hire Episode 7 Shadows, Chains, and Quiet Knives. Recap Simon began the night as a professional, a hired blade doing a job for coin. But by the end, he'd sabotaged a warlord's uprising, uncovered a conspiracy that stretches into the Noble Council, and struck a deal with something inhuman in the dark. Act 1 The Docks and the Dead Drop the Blades for Hire assigned Simon to recover the Azure Ledger, a book of coded transactions stolen by the Crimson Harriers, a dockside gang known for arson and extortion. The job sounded simple. Get in, retrieve the ledger, get out. But it quickly grew darker. Working the docks at midnight, Simon moved like a ghost through the warehouses. Locks fell open beneath his thieves' tools, guards slumped from quick strikes, and his footfalls were never heard. Inside the Harrier's office, Simon found the Azure Ledger along with something else, a parchment marked with the insignia of Roderick Vex, a golden hawk. The message carried orders to burn 2 rival taverns and reroute contraband shipments to a noble estate called Varenhold. The document bore another name, the Patron. Simon escaped unseen and returned the ledger to his blade's handler, who rewarded him with coin and the promise of a new contract. His next mission, infiltrate Varenhold itself, would test every ounce of his cunning. Act 2 Varenhold Reconnaissance. Armed with 2 potions of invisibility and a map of the grounds, Simon scouted the noble estate. His role, a flawless, silent 20, made him a shadow among shadows. From the tree line, he charted the layout. Guard posts, hounds, and 3 entry points, the servants' gate, the western balcony, and a concealed cellar hatch by the carriage house. Then came the break. Through a balcony window, Simon spotted Roderick Vex himself. Tall, severe, dressed in a crimson coat with gold trim. Listening carefully, Simon overheard him speaking to an aide about the patron's approval, the shipment, and sealing the tunnel beneath the estate. The phrase repeated like a drumbeat, open quote, when the signal comes, close quote. Simon withdrew unseen. The Blades confirmed that Vex was ex-dock enforcer turned noble mercenary, a man amassing private troops and coin for an unknown backer, someone manipulating the city's political core. Act 3, The Infiltration. Simon requested assistance from Dern the Quiet, a half-orc infiltrator who owed him a favor. They equipped drow poison and smoke powder, preparing for the cellar entry. That night, they moved through the misty fields to the carriage house. One guard fell without a sound, a poisoned dart to the throat. Inside, Simon found a keyring, a pouch of platinum, a magical cloak, and several tunnel maps bearing coded markings. All evidence pointed to organized movement, weapons, silver, and special cargo bound for the southern hills. Then they found the hidden door beneath the floorboards. Act 4, The Hidden Passage. Below the carriage house, the pair followed a half-dug tunnel lit by a single lantern. The faint sound of hammering drew them onward until they came upon a laborer chiseling through stone. Simon struck from the dark. The worker dropped instantly, his hammer echoing once before silence returned. Beyond the wall lay a chamber. 4 wooden crates, 2 canvas bundles, and a massive iron cage shrouded by a tarp. The crates revealed the true scale of Vex's operation. Blasting powder enough to level 2 taverns. Silvered blades and poisoned weapons intended for a private army. Propaganda banners reading New Order of the Southern District. The bundles contained letters and ledgers stamped property of E. Malvor. The name meant nothing to Simon, but its presence was everywhere, scrawled across shipping manifests and sealed in wax. Act 5. The Thing in Chains. Then came the cage. Lifting the tarp revealed something neither man expected. A humanoid creature, its skin slate gray and marred with glowing runes. Shackles of cold iron bit into its limbs. When it opened its eyes, they burned gold in the dark. It spoke in a rasping, deliberate tone. Open quote, "What Vex made is bound to serve. What you unbind may yet serve you." Close quote. Simon questioned it. Who was it? What did it mean? The creature called itself a weapon, drawn from the deep vaults and remade to fight in the Patron's war. It offered Simon a pact. Open quote, "Free me, and I will be your storm. Leave me, and you may yet hear my name screamed from the ramparts." Close quote. Simon's reply was colder, more calculating. He would not release it. Not yet. Instead, he made a deal. When the signal came, the creature would turn on Vex and kill him in Simon's name. In return, Simon would later return and break its chains. The pact was sealed with silence and the scent of blood in the air. Act 6. The Saboteur's Hand. Before leaving, Simon and Dern carefully sabotaged the blasting powder and neutralized the poison vials. Subtle changes ensuring the weapons would fail when used. They gathered evidence, pocketed the platinum, and claimed 2 items from the coffer marked E. Malvor, a set of jet black coins, and a crimson vial that pulsed faintly with arcane heat. They left the sealed letter untouched. When the final torch was extinguished, Varenhold's tunnels were a graveyard of secrets. A conspiracy undone from the inside. As Simon and Dern disappeared through the unmarked hill exit, the chained creature's voice whispered from the dark. Open quote, "The signal will come, Simon of the Blades. When it does, we rise." Close quote. Closing notes. By the episode's end, Vex lives unaware that his entire operation is compromised. The creature remains bound, awaiting Simon's command. E. Malvor emerges as the hidden name behind the uprising. Simon and Dern hold the intelligence to ignite a civil war, or prevent one. Tagline, open quote, "In the dark below Varenhold, Simon struck a bargain with a monster and became someone else's ghost." Close quote. That concludes episode 7. When you're ready, we can begin episode 8, The Hollow Hills, opening immediately after Simon and Dern emerge from the tunnels into the cold Pridon mist.
The name of the episode is episode 8. Patron Shadow. Dern and let's start episode 8 now.
Excellent. Cue the lantern flare and the distant roll of thunder. Blades for Hire, Episode 8, The Patron's Shadow Cold Open. The screen fades in from black. Rain has begun to fall, not in sheets, but in cold, needling drops that hiss when they strike the rocky ground. The exit tunnel yawns behind you like the throat of something sleeping. Simon and Dern emerge from the mouth of the hill, cloaked and silent. The sky is bruised with pre-dawn, blue-gray clouds rimmed with violet. Behind them, the lights of Varenhold shimmer faintly through the mist, a noble estate that no longer knows it's sitting on top of its own doom. Dern stops.
Hello? Hi. No. Unless you got, hold on a second. I'm looking for a mute button. Okay, sorry about that. Let's go back and have it read it again.
Excellent. Cue the lantern flare and the distant roll of thunder. Blades for Hire, Episode 8, The Patron's Shadow Cold Open. The screen fades in from black. Rain has begun to fall, not in sheets, but in cold, needling drops that hiss when they strike the rocky ground. The exit tunnel yawns behind you like the throat of something sleeping. Simon and Dern emerge from the mouth of the hill, cloaked and silent. The sky is bruised with pre-dawn, blue-gray clouds rimmed with violet. Behind them, the lights of Varenhold shimmer faintly through the mist, a noble estate that no longer knows it's sitting on top of its own doom. Dern stops, spits mud, and murmurs, "That thing in chains? It's still in there, ain't it?" Didn't like the way it looked at you. The forest around you smells of wet pine and iron. Crows stir in the branches. Somewhere far off, a bell tolls twice, the hour before dawn. Then, from the tunnel mouth, a faint glow pulses once. Yellow light, the same hue as the creature's eyes, then fades. The air feels colder now. Scene 1. The escape route. The Blades safe house lies several miles east, through the woods and across the stream called Widow's Crossing. You've got the following: a sealed coffer stamped E. Malvor, minus the coins and vial you pocketed, a satchel of notes and ledgers implicating Vex and his allies. A creeping sense that you're being followed, whether by Vex's men or something else. Dern looks to you for direction, resting his hand on the hilt of his short sword. Open quote, "Your call, Simon. Straight to the safe house or lose our tail first?" Close quote. The night is quiet but heavy, like the world's holding its breath. Your move, Simon. Do you? 1. Head straight for the Blades safe house before daylight risks exposure. 2. Circle wide through the woods to see if you can spot anyone following you. 3. Investigate the faint light that pulsed from the tunnel one last time. Make your choice, and if a roll's needed, I'll prompt you for it, before revealing what happens next.
Simon will take Durst and circle through the woods looking for a follower.
Perfect. Simon gives a subtle nod, not a word, just that brief flash of understanding between professionals. Dern slips low, following his lead as the two melt into the tree line. Scene 2. The wood's breath. The forest floor is thick with needles and mist, every step a muffled whisper. The fog hangs low, carrying the scent of wet earth and something faintly metallic, like blood on iron. A nightbird shrieks once, then silence. You move in a slow arc around the hillside, using the trees for cover. Simon's eyes adjust to the gray gloom, catching flickers of movement that could be branches, or something else. Dern whispers, "We're not alone. Whatever's back there, it's pacing us." Not close, but not far either. He gestures toward the east ridge, a small rise covered in dripping pines and a few jagged boulders. A perfect vantage point for anyone tailing you. You can, 1. Climb the ridge quietly to get a better view, stealth and perception. 2. Lay a trap using terrain, fallen branches, a choke point, or drow poison, survival or sleight of hand. 3. Confront whoever's there, calling out into the mist to flush them into the open, intimidation or deception. Which approach does Simon take?
Simon will climb the ridge to get a better view of our stalker.
Simon gestures for silence, then begins to climb. The ridge rises like a broken spine out of the woods, slick with rain and tangled roots. Dern steadies himself below, scanning the trees with a drawn dagger but keeping low. The air grows still, unnaturally so. Even the rain seems to hush as Simon ascends. Make a stealth check, followed by a perception check to see what he spots from the ridge. You roll for Simon. I'll wait for the results.
Stealth check. That's not good. Stealth. Oh, come on. Stealth was an 8, and perception was a 20.
Excellent rolls. Or rather, one excellent roll, and one that's about to make things tense. Scene 3. The Watcher in the Fog. Simon climbs the last few feet and braces against a lichen-covered boulder. His boots scrape stone just once, a sound too sharp in the quiet. From below, Dern winces but says nothing. That slip costs you your invisibility. You freeze, scanning the misty woods below. At first there's nothing, then the fog parts slightly and you see it. A figure stands halfway down the slope, still as a grave marker. Cloaked, hood drawn, no lantern, no sound of breath. But even from here, Simon catches the faintest glimmer of gold light beneath the hood. Not a torch. Eyes. It's watching you. The creature from the cage. But it shouldn't be here. You left it chained in stone. The fog curls tighter around its form, and for a heartbeat you think you see the outline of shackles, broken, dragging through the wet leaves like chains underwater. Then the voice, quiet as thought, open quote, Simon of the Blades, the signal has not yet come, close quote. It tilts its head slightly, the golden eyes dimming to a deep amber glow. Open quote, yet you walk beneath my sky, close quote. Dern whispers from below, what is it? You see something? He hasn't spotted it yet. You can, 1, speak to the creature, test whether it's bound by your pact. 2, signal Dern to stay silent while you observe. 3, draw your weapon and prepare to defend. What does Simon do?
Simon will ask, what master do you serve?
The fog ripples, not with wind, but as if the sound of Simon's words has weight. The figure remains still for a moment, then slowly lowers its hood. Its face is gray marble streaked with veins of gold, carved too perfectly to be flesh. Runes crawl faintly under the skin, the same binding marks you saw on its body in the cage. Open quote. I was made to serve Vex, it says, voice layered with echoes like two people speaking at once. But he bowed to another, the one who writes the names beneath your city, the one you call Patron. Close quote. It lifts its right arm, showing the remnants of a broken shackle fused into its wrist. Open, he is not a man. He is a whisper that eats men's faces. A name carried by gold. Malvor is his breath. Close quote. As it speaks, Simon feels a faint pressure behind his eyes, the same subtle tug he felt when he opened the coffer. The black coins in his pouch feel suddenly warm against his side, as though responding to the name. The creature tilts its head again, unnervingly human in its curiosity. Open quote. You took his coins, didn't you? Then he already sees through you. Close quote. Dern, still below and half hidden by mist, mutters quietly, Boss? You talking to someone up there? Simon can now, 1. Question further, pressing for what Malvor truly is, a man, a god, or something else. 2. Deny the creature's claim and test whether the coins truly carry any link to this on Patron. 3. Order it to leave, invoking the pact and seeing whether it obeys. What does Simon do?
Simon will question further to find out more about Malvor.
Simon's voice carries low through the mist. Careful, deliberate, a soldier's tone wrapped around a sorcerer's patience. Open quote. Then tell me, he says, what is Malvor? A man? A god? A lie dressed in power? Close quote. The creature's expression flickers, as if the word god hurt to hear. Open quote. He was once flesh, it murmurs. A builder of vaults, a collector of souls. When the southern lords fought their last war, they buried their wealth in the earth. He stayed behind to guard it. Close quote. Its golden eyes dim, and the fog around it seems to thicken. Open quote. He did not die. He learned. He bound his name to the coins themselves. Each one is a mirror. Each mirror a mouth. The more men who touch them, the more he is. Close quote. The coins in Simon's pouch pulse faintly again. Not hot, but alive, the way a heartbeat might feel if metal could breathe. Open quote. Those who take his payment, the creature continues, hear his voice in time. They see his shadow behind every torch. He does not command through fear, he whispers through debt. Close quote. The word debt lands heavy. Dern, still below the ridge, calls up quietly. Open quote. Simon, you're talking to the damn fog now, aren't you? Close quote. The creature's gaze slides toward Dern, then back to Simon. Open quote. He will not see me, not yet. You, though, you already owe him. Close quote. The last word vibrates through Simon's skull like a bell struck underwater. For a moment, the trees all seem to lean closer. Then the figure steps backward, its form dissolving into mist and rain. Only its voice remains. Open quote. When the ledger burns, he will come to collect. Close quote. And then silence. Dern finally climbs the ridge, breathing hard, scanning the fog. There's no one here. You look like you just saw the Reaper himself. He doesn't see the faint line of gold dust where the creature stood. Simon can now, 1. Check the black coins to see if they bear any sign of enchantment or movement. 2. Conceal this encounter from Dern and move toward the safe house. 3. Confess what he saw, trusting Dern enough to share the truth. What does Simon do?
Simon will share what happened, and he will also investigate the coins for anything out of the ordinary.
Simon lets out a slow breath, the kind that feels like it carries smoke instead of air. He keeps his voice low, though the fog seems to drink every word. Open quote. It was the thing from the cage, he says quietly. It followed us here. Said Vex's patron isn't just a man. He's something older. Malvor. Bound to gold. The coins themselves are his eyes. Close quote. Dern's brows knit as he squints into the mist. Open quote. A spirit that lives in money? Hells, that's Creative. Makes sense of why every bastard with coin turns rotten. Close quote. He gestures toward Simon's pouch. Open quote. If it's watching through those things, maybe we shouldn't keep them. Close quote. Scene 4. The coin's secret. Simon kneels, unfastening the pouch. Inside, the jet black coins glint faintly in the dim light. They're cold at first, then abruptly warm, almost like they react to being exposed. Each one bears the same sigil, a stylized eye carved deep into the metal, surrounded by faint concentric circles. But now, under the flicker of Simon's torchlight, he sees that the carvings aren't still. They shift, as if the lines are liquid under the surface. A faint whisper leaks from the pouch, too low to be words, more like breath drawn across stone. Dern takes a wary step back. Open quote. Burn them. Or drop them in the river. I don't like the way they're looking at you. Close quote. Simon's arcane sense prickles, the same instinct that warns of spells. He realizes what he's feeling isn't possession, but connection. Each coin is a tether, and something on the other end is aware of him. Watching. Waiting. If he listens closely, he can almost hear it hum in rhythm with his heartbeat. You can. 1. Attempt to break the connection by using arcane focus, a risk, but possibly a way to sever Malvor's link. 2. Keep the coins, wrapping them in lead or cloth to block whatever awareness they have, a temporary safeguard. 3. Destroy or scatter them here in the woods, trusting instinct over curiosity. What does Simon do?
Simon will dig a hole and bury the coins there. So he will also try to sever whatever connection there is between the coins and him.
Simon gives Dern a terse nod, the kind that says no more words, just action. He kneels in the wet earth, pulling his dagger free and stabbing it into the mud. The sound is sharp, final. Dern stands watch with his back to the slope, scanning the mist. The soil is cold and black. Simon digs deep, a foot, then 2, until the roots twist through his fingers. He drops the coins into the hole. They clatter once, then fall silent. And then he feels it. The hum inside his chest, the faint heartbeat that wasn't his own, falters, but doesn't vanish. It lingers like static under his skin. Simon knows enough of the arcane to sense the thread, the invisible filament tying him to the buried coins. He closes his eyes and draws on his own spark of eldritch power. It's not a spell exactly, more an act of will, a mental severing. He focuses on the thread, sees it in his mind as a thin, molten line stretching down into the earth, and snaps it. Make an intelligence arcana check. This is a difficult test of focus and will. DC 18 to fully sever the connection. Roll it and tell me the result, and we'll see whether Simon truly cuts himself free from Malvor's gaze, or whether something on the other end notices him pulling at the cord.
Okay, I'm gonna see if there's anything I can do Familiar action surge, sneak attack, weapon bond. Nope. So I need to roll an arcana check. Yes. Got a +9, so that should help. Yes. 27. I rolled a 27 for my arcana check.
The forest goes silent, unnaturally, completely silent, as Simon focuses. He can see it now in his mind's eye, that golden thread running from his chest down through the soil, through stone, through miles of dark places where light has never touched. It hums with ancient greed, that whisper of mine that has haunted kings and beggars alike. Simon's will sharpens like a blade. He wraps his mind around that filament and pulls. The world screams. Not aloud, but in the marrow of his bones, in the vibrating edges of reality. The air ripples around him, bending the mist into rings. The thread ignites, flashes white, then black, then nothing. The coins in the pit flicker once with a molten gold glow before crumbling to ash. For a split second, Simon feels something try to reach through him, a vast, unseen hand brushing the edge of his mind, and then it's gone. The presence evaporates, leaving behind only the smell of burnt metal and wet earth. Dern swears softly, rubbing his eyes. Open quote. Never seen a man burn dirt before. You all right? Close quote. Simon feels lighter. The hum is gone, the connection broken. But something new lingers at the edge of his awareness. Not a voice, not a presence, more like attention. Whatever Malvor is, it noticed the break, and it will remember the name Simon when it next counts its debts. The dawn finally breaks through the trees, pale and cold. The rain eases. Open quote. Let's move, Dern mutters, adjusting his cloak, before something else crawls out of the ground wanting conversation. Close quote. As you and Dern head toward the Blade's safe house, the fog begins to thin. The city walls are visible now, distant and gray in the dawn light. But behind you, in the shallow grave where the coins once lay, the soil shifts. A faint shimmer of gold seeps upward. Not light, but memory. Some debts, it seems, don't stay buried. Would you like to continue straight into Scene 5, arrival at the Blade's safe house, or have a short interlude scene on the road where Simon and Dern talk about what just happened and what to do with the E. Malvor coffer?
Simon will discuss the coffer of Malvor to see what he has to say.
Simon and Dern move through the thinning fog, their boots squelching through mud and leaf rot. The rain has eased into a drizzle, the sky a bruised gray. The air feels cleansed but charged, like lightning just passed through the forest. Dern breaks the silence first. Open quote. That hole you dug back there? I could feel it, you know, like the ground itself was hummin'. Whatever you did, it weren't just burying coins. Close quote. Simon keeps his eyes ahead. The trail bends east toward the city's outer road, and the sun's pale light glints off the sealed iron coffer slung over Dern's shoulder. The name E. Malvor is etched into the metal, precise, elegant, and faintly iridescent now that the dawn touches it. Open quote. That box is what worries me, Dern adds. You saw what the coins did. What if that thing's worse? What if Open It calls him? Close quote. Simon studies the coffer as they walk. The metal feels colder than it should, even through the wrapping. Its lock is a single slot with no visible mechanism, more like a wound than a keyhole. As he looks closer, he sees something subtle, the faintest pattern of shifting lines crawling across the surface, just like the coins. A sigil, hidden beneath layers of steel. It's the same mark the creature showed, the concentric circles, the stylized eye. Dern notices him staring. Open quote. Don't tell me you're thinking about opening it. Close quote. Simon can feel it, a tug at the edge of his thoughts. Whatever connection he broke, this coffer wants to restore it. Inside, something is humming in resonance with the same energy he severed. He can, 1. Attempt to identify the enchantment, using his knowledge of arcana to determine the nature of the coffer. No physical tampering yet. 2. Resist temptation, wrap the coffer in lead or oilcloth, and bring it sealed to the Blade's handler for analysis. 3. Open it here, trusting his power and the protection of daylight to control whatever lies within. What does Simon do?
Simon will attempt to identify the enchantment.
Simon stops walking. The rain runs down the back of his cloak as he kneels, setting the coffer on a patch of moss between roots. He draws a slow breath and places his palm against the lid. The metal is cold, too cold, and for an instant he feels the faint vibration of something alive beneath it. Not breathing, but waiting. He steadies his mind and begins to focus, reaching out with that same disciplined precision he used to sever the coin's tether. His awareness sinks through the iron, tasting the spellwork stitched into the metal like veins through stone. Arcane reading. Results. Simon senses 3 layers of magic. 1. Binding seal. A containment glyph similar to a glyph of warding but older and more deliberate. It holds something inside, but not a creature. It feels conceptual, like it's containing an idea or a voice. The runes form a circle around a central name, one that flickers through his mind before fading. Malvor. 2. Cognitive resonance. The coffer emits a faint psychic pulse that seeks minds, not eyes. It listens. The same type of enchantment used in scrying mirrors and arcane ledgers, but inverted. This one is aware when it's being studied. 3. Currency of flesh. The deepest layer thrums with old magic, transmutation, possibly necromantic. Simon catches glimpses of gold turning to blood, of faces stamped into coin. Whatever this coffer contains, it's not treasure. It's a record. A ledger of debts paid not in gold, but in lives. When Simon draws back, a faint circle of frost has formed around where his hand rested. The air around the box smells faintly of copper and myrrh. Dern crouches beside him, eyes narrow. Open quote. You're looking at that thing like it just spoke your name. What'd you find? Close quote. Simon feels the truth forming on his tongue. That the coffer isn't just enchanted, it's alive in the same way a spell is alive, and the name Malvor is its pulse. You can, 1. Tell Dern everything, that the coffer may be a living ledger that records the names of those who serve or owe Malvor. 2. Downplay it, saying it's merely dangerous arcana and that you'll have the blades study it later. 3. Test the coffer further, risking a direct contact. A minor cantrip like detect thoughts or identify to probe deeper. Dangerous, but potentially revealing its true purpose. What does Simon do?
Simon will explain to Dern about what he discovered about the copper. Then he will wrap it in oilcloth and proceed to take it to the blades so they can study it.
Simon exhales slowly, as though releasing a poison he's been holding in his lungs. He keeps his voice low, almost reverent, the tone of a man who's just looked over the edge of something vast. Open quote. It's not a chest, he says. It's a record. A ledger that writes in names instead of numbers. Every coin, every bargain, every debt, all of it ends up in there. It doesn't hold gold, it holds servitude. Close quote, blot. Dern blinks. Open quote. A book that keeps souls on account? Close quote. Open quote. Exactly, Simon replies. It knows when it's being watched too. It's aware. Like the coins were. But worse. Whatever's bound inside this thing, Malvor, a fragment of him maybe, he can hear through it. Close quote. Dern looks at the coffer as though it might start talking. You're telling me that thing's alive? Open quote. In the way fire's alive, Simon says. Hungry, patient, and blind to anything that doesn't burn. Half close quote. He takes out an oilcloth from his pack, wraps the iron coffer tightly, and ties it with cord. When he does, the frost that had formed on its surface melts away, and the humming in his mind stops. The weight of the thing remains, but the awareness dulls, like a lid closing on a whisper. Open quote. Let's keep it sealed until the Blade's arcane quartermaster can study it, Simon says. I don't want to touch it again until we're behind their wards. Close quote. Dern nods firmly. Good. Last thing I want is another ghost coin singing in my head. The two resume their march toward the city. The trees thin, the road widens, and the dawn finally stretches its fingers across the world, gray and pale, but honest light. As they crest the final hill, the skyline of the city emerges. Chimneys and towers smoking faintly, ships rocking in the harbor, the faint clang of a bell marking morning shift at the docks. But something's wrong. Even from this distance, Simon spots smoke rising from the western quarter, the Blades district, not white from hearth fires. Black, oily, rising fast. Dern stops, cursing softly. Open quote. Tell me that ain't the safe house. Close quote. Scene 6. The morning fires. The wind shifts, carrying the smell of burning tar and iron. Somewhere in the city below, the day begins. And whatever Simon thought he'd left buried beneath Varenhold may have reached the surface ahead of him. Would you like to proceed straight into the next scene, the approach to the city and the burned safe house, or pause for a brief strategy moment on the hillside before Simon and Dern head in?
Let's go ahead. Go ahead and see straight to the next scene.
Good. Scene 7. The morning fires. By the time Simon and Dern reach the city gates, the smoke has thickened into a column. The air tastes of soot and salt. The gulls above wheel madly in the rising heat. The guards at the gatehouse barely glance up when Simon flashes his Blades for Hire sigil. They're too busy shouting orders and hauling buckets toward the fire line. Open quote. Western quarters lit up, one of them yells. Started before dawn, smelled like oil. Close quote. The West Quarter. The Blades District. Dern's jaw tightens. If the safe house is gone, so's our handler, and all them ledgers you risked your skin for. You push through the chaos, streets full of coughing dockhands, shouting merchants, and a half-dozen runners from the city watch. The closer you get, the thicker the smoke becomes, until you can barely see the slate rooftops through the orange haze. The Blades safe house, or what's left of it, comes into view. A 2-story stone building with iron shutters. The upper floor's gone, the roof caved in. Blackened beams stick out like ribs. The street is slick with ash and water. A burned sign swings overhead, the limping swan. The tavern front the Blades used as cover. Inside, the air is a furnace. The walls still glow faintly and the stink of scorched parchment is everywhere. You can hear the soft hiss of fire dying in the cellar vents. Dern kicks aside a half-burnt chair. Someone hit this place fast, didn't loot a thing, just torched it and left. He crouches by a corpse half buried in debris, a blade, throat cut before the fire. Execution, not panic. Open quote. This wasn't random, Dern mutters. This was cleanup. Close quote. Simon's next actions. You can 1. Search the ruins for any surviving evidence or messages, investigation. 2. Check the bodies to identify who died, and whether your handler was among them, medicine or perception. 3. Head to the Blade's secondary contact, the apothecary in Redwater Alley, before whoever did this doubles back. Which path does Simon take?
Check the bodies for survivors.
Simon pulls his cloak across his mouth and nose and steps deeper into the smoke. The air inside the collapsed tavern is heavy. Wet wood, burned ale, and the copper tang of blood. Each step crunches through ash and cinders. The once hidden headquarters of the Blades for Hire is now a mausoleum. Scene 8. The Ashen Hall. Bodies lie scattered through the wreckage. Some are burned beyond recognition, others clearly executed before the blaze. Simon kneels beside the nearest corpse, a man in half-melted chain, his eyes glassed white from heat, a clean cut across the throat. He wasn't caught in the fire. He was silenced. Simon moves methodically, the soldier in him taking over. He rolls one corpse, then another. Dern checks the far side, coughing through the smoke. Open quote. "Two of them I know," Dern calls. "Lara and Kane, runners. Good ones." Close quote. Simon finds a third, female, older, burned badly, but still wearing the silver ring of a handler. The signet shows the Blade's insignia, a dagger in a crescent moon. The ring is warm to the touch. He presses fingers to her throat. Nothing. Then, just as he leans closer, a flicker. A single, shallow breath. Open quote. Dern. Close quote. The half-orc rushes over, shoving aside debris. The woman's eyes open faintly, gray, unfocused. Her voice comes as a rasp. Open quote. "Simon? Gods below, you made it out." Close quote. "It's Mara, your handler." Open quote. "They came at dawn," she coughs. Said the Blades were compromised. One wore Vex's colors, the others, black masks. Said the patron had paid in full. Close quote. Her hand trembles, clutching at your cloak. "They weren't here for us, Simon. They were here for what we kept. The ledgers, the coffer." Her eyes flick toward the oil-wrapped bundle on your back. "Don't bring it here. Don't." She stiffens, gasps, and goes limp. The last breath rattles out of her lungs. Dern closes her eyes with one hand. Open quote. "She was trying to warn you, boss. Whatever's in that box, they know it's with you." Close quote. Outside, a low horn sounds, 3 notes. Not a watch signal, a call. Through the haze of smoke, Simon sees a shadowed figure standing on the far rooftop. A long coat whipping in the wind, crimson trim glinting. A gold hawk sigil catches the firelight. Roderick Vex. He's watching. Then he turns and vanishes into the drifting smoke. Dern growls, "We can chase him, or we can get that cursed box somewhere safe. We can't do both. Your choice, Simon. 1. Pursue Vex through the burning quarter before he escapes again. 2. Protect the coffer, escaping through side streets toward Redwater Alley. 3. Split the effort, send Dern after Vex, while Simon safeguards the coffer alone." What does Simon do?
Simon will send Dern after Vex, while Simon will take the copper and head to Redwater Alley.
Simon's eyes narrow through the rising smoke. He doesn't need to say much. Dern knows the look. Open quote. "Vex is yours," Simon says flatly. "Don't let him vanish again, but don't die for him either." Close quote. Dern's tusked grin flashes in the firelight. Open quote. "I'll settle for scaring him halfway to the hells." Close quote. The half-orc sprints off through the alley, vanishing between the smoke-streaked rooftops in pursuit of Vex. His boots hammer the cobblestones like war drums, fading into distance. Scene 9. The Redwater Run. Simon pulls the oil-wrapped coffer tighter against his chest and slips through a side passage where the smoke is thinner. The Redwater district lies downslope, near the canal, a labyrinth of apothecaries, spice stalls, and narrow brick lanes that never see the sun. Every corner feels alive with tension. Word of the fire has spread, shutters are closing, people are vanishing indoors. A pair of city watchmen jog past shouting orders, paying Simon no heed in his soot-streaked cloak. The streets glisten with rain and firelight. Beneath the stink of ash, Simon smells something else. Incense. Sharp, metallic. Not from the city. A familiar wrongness settles over him. The air hums again. He glances down, and the coffer, even sealed, is vibrating. Softly. The sigils beneath the oilcloth flicker once in golden light, then fade. Open quote. Not now, he mutters. Close quote. He presses on. Redwater Alley looms ahead, a crooked lane of shuttered doors and hanging herbs. The Blade's secondary contact, an apothecary named Varen, hides behind an unmarked wooden door at the far end. But as Simon approaches, the cobblestones ahead begin to whisper. The words are faint, too faint to understand, but the rhythm is clear. The same cadence as the chained creature's voice. Then the door at the end of the alley creaks open. A hand, gloved, trembling, waves him inside. Varen's pale face peers through the smoke. Open quote. Inside, quick, they're watching. Close quote. Simon slips through and bolts the door behind him. Scene 10, the apothecary's refuge. The interior is dim, lit only by candlelight filtered through blue glass. Shelves sag under vials, herbs, and jars of strange powders. The smell of brimstone and lavender competes with the acrid smoke seeping through the walls. Varen looks exhausted, soot smeared down his cheek. Open quote. Half the district's on alert, he says in a low voice. Your safe house is gone. The blades are scattered. Close quote. He eyes the wrapped coffer. Open quote. And that, whatever's in there, has half the watch sniffing for it. They say it's evidence of treason. I say it's bait. Close quote. Simon sets the coffer down on the counter. The wood under it frosts instantly. Varen flinches. Open quote. Saints preserve us. What did you bring me, Simon? Close quote. You can now 1. Explain everything. The chained creature, Malvor, and the coins. 2. Hold back key details, revealing only that the coffer is magical and dangerous. 3. Ask Varen to examine it, despite the risk that touching it might awaken whatever's inside. What does Simon do?
Simon will tell Varen everything about the coins and the coffer and the creature along with Malvor.
Simon removes his gloves slowly and places both hands on the counter, an unspoken sign of truce. He looks Varen dead in the eye. Open quote. You deserve the whole truth before you decide whether to help me or run. Close quote. The apothecary doesn't interrupt. He just listens, fingers white around a brass pestle. Scene 11. The weight of names. Simon tells it all. How the tunnels beneath Varenhold hid not just weapons, but a chained creature, something sculpted and scarred with runes of servitude. How that creature called itself a weapon forged by Vex for an unseen patron. How it spoke of Malvor, a name that carries the weight of old gold and older sin. He explains how he found the coins, how they whispered and pulsed with life until he buried and burned them. How the coffer seems alive, like a vault that remembers every bargain ever made in its master's name. He doesn't spare the unsettling details. The psychic hum, the frost forming under his touch, the sense that Malvor sees through the metal itself. When he's done, the silence is thick as smoke. Varen hasn't moved an inch. Finally, the apothecary exhales and says quietly, open quote, you've brought a god's corpse into my shop. Close quote. Simon frowns. You think Malvor's dead? Open quote. Not dead, Varen says, but hollow. A name once bound to a mortal, now filled with everything that worshipped it. That's what happens when power outlives its flesh. The name becomes a hunger. And you, Simon, you fed it. Close quote. He points to the coffer. Open quote. That's not a vault. That's a mouth. It eats oaths and coin the same way a god eats prayer. Burn it, and it will scream. Keep it sealed, and it will whisper. Open it. Close quote. He doesn't finish the sentence. Varen moves to a cabinet, retrieves a small jar filled with silver dust and myrrh resin. Open quote. I can suppress its resonance, for a while. Wrap it in this mixture, place it in salt, and bury it under running water. That should hide it from the patron's eyes, whoever or whatever still serves him. Close quote. He looks up. Open quote. But if Malvor has already marked you, Simon, this isn't over. He'll send something. Not a man. Not yet. A collector. Close quote. Dern's voice echoes faintly from outside, distant but approaching fast. The bell above the door rattles once. Open quote. You best decide quick, Varen says. You can leave the coffer with me to bury, or keep it and draw his shadow to you. Close quote. Simon's choice. 1. Leave the coffer with Varen, trusting him to bury and suppress it. 2. Keep the coffer, taking responsibility in whatever danger it brings. 3. Split the plan. Let Varen prepare the suppression ritual here, while Simon and Dern handle outside threats. What does Simon do?
All right, I'm going to have to take a break for a moment. My brother just got home. I've got to help him with the groceries, so I'll be back. And hang in there, and I'll see you shortly. Okay, I'm back. Make sure I am back. Okay. Huh. Simon will leave the copper with Baron, trusting him to take care of it as necessary.
Simon studies Varen for a long moment. The man's lined face, the ash in his hair, the steady hands that haven't trembled once, despite the talk of gods and curses. There's a flicker of something almost like respect in his eyes. Open quote. You're the only one left I trust to handle this, Simon says quietly. If anyone can bury a god's mouth, it's you. Close quote. Varen nods solemnly. Open quote. Then it will be done. No names, no markers, no prayers. I'll bury it where the river runs blackest. Close quote. Simon unties the oilcloth bundle and sets it down. The table hisses as frost spreads in a ring beneath it. Varen doesn't flinch. He just takes the jar of silver and myrrh, pouring a slow circle around the coffer. The air vibrates, then steadies like a held breath finally released. Open quote. Once I seal this, Varen says, you mustn't come looking for it again. Whatever it calls to you with, promises, memories, voices, ignore them. They'll sound like truth, but they won't be yours. Close quote. Simon nods, stepping back. If Malvor comes for it, I want him to find nothing. Open quote. He'll find only silence, Varen promises. Close quote. The apothecary pulls a canvas sheet over the table and begins murmuring a litany in an old tongue, part prayer, part chemical formula. The coffer's glow fades beneath the cloth until it's gone entirely. Just then, the shop door bursts open. Dern stumbles in, bleeding from a shallow cut across his shoulder, breathing hard. Open quote. Vex got away, he growls, slamming the door. Slippery bastard dove into the canal tunnels, but I got close enough to hear him barking orders. He's rallying what's left of his men. And he kept talking about the signal. Said the patron's eyes were open. Close quote. Simon exchanges a look with Varen, whose expression has gone pale. Open quote. Then bury it tonight, Simon says. Close quote. Varen nods. Before the next moonrise. Outside, the city bells toll the first hour of day. Smoke still hangs above the rooftops, but the wind has shifted, carrying it east, away from the sea, away from Varenhold. Simon and Dern step back out into the street. The light of dawn is dim but clean. For the first time in days, the world doesn't hum beneath his skin. The tether is gone. Open quote. We done with gods and ghosts for a while? Dern asks. Close quote. Open quote. For a while, Simon answers, but something tells me the patron's shadow isn't finished. Close quote. End of episode 8. The Patron's Shadow. Next time, episode 9, The Collector's Debt. As the ashes of the Blade's safe house cool, a new figure arrives in the city, one who never forgets a debt unpaid. Would you like me to prepare a short cinematic teaser for episode 9's opening?
First off, stop saying open quote and close quote. Let's keep the session going for at least a little longer.
Understood. We'll stay in the moment. Scene 12. Street of Smoke and Silence. The two blades move through the quiet streets, the city washed pale by early sunlight. The last traces of smoke drift toward the harbor. Vendors are setting up for the day, eyes down, pretending not to see the burned skyline of the western quarter. Simon feels lighter without the coffer's weight. Yet underneath the calm is an emptiness, a kind of echo, the sense of something vast and watching, now muffled but not gone. Dern keeps a wary eye on every rooftop. If Vex has men left, they'll know we're alive. Probably got bounties on our heads by noon. Simon glances toward the waterfront. We can't hide forever. If the Patron's still moving pieces, there'll be signs. Strange payments, ledgers going missing, names disappearing. Dern grunts. Then we watch the money. They round the corner toward the pier when they spot a cluster of watchmen hauling a bloated corpse out of the canal. A few dockhands have gathered to stare. The body wears crimson, trimmed in gold, waterlogged, throat torn open. The hawk sigil gleams faintly under the grime. Roderick Vex. The watch captain nearby mutters, no knife marks. Looks like he drowned from the inside. Eyes burned right out of his head. Dern's expression darkens. Guess the patron collects his own debts. The crowd parts as the body's lifted onto a cart. Beneath the collar, Simon spots a faint pattern burned into the flesh, concentric circles and an eye of gold, a mark he's seen twice before. Dern turns to him. You think this means it's over? The morning gulls scream overhead and the tide surges red against the quay. Simon shakes his head. No, this was a message. The water below ripples once, unnaturally still afterward, as though something just sank beneath the surface and is waiting. Do you want to have Simon inspect Vex's body up close, risking attention from the watch? Or shadow the watchmen to learn where they're taking it?
Simon and Dern will shadow the watchman to see where they're taking it.
The pair fall back into rhythm, Simon taking the flank, Dern trailing a few paces behind to guard their rear. The morning crowd thins as the watchmen haul the cart away from the canal, boots clanging on cobbles slick with seawater. The cart's iron wheels squeal in protest as it turns toward the western avenue. The guards talk in low tones. Simon can't catch every word, but a few drift back through the smoke. Captain said straight to the archivum. No public postmortem. Same mark as the others. Don't let the priests see it this time. The archivum. That's the city's deep vault for evidence and relics, carved beneath the old courthouse. Only the watch, the judges, and the royal scribe are supposed to have keys. It's also where the Blades sometimes stored sensitive contracts under assumed names. Dern murmurs, they're taking him where they keep cursed things, not bodies. Things. Simon nods. Then he's not evidence. He's a warning. They keep their distance as the cart rolls through the narrow lanes toward the upper quarter. Rain begins again, turning the ash into gray paste underfoot. The sound of the sea fades behind them, replaced by the steady, hollow echo of hooves on stone. After several turns, the guards pass through a pair of wrought iron gates. The sigil of the city's law, the scales over an open eye, is carved above the arch. The air here is colder, cleaner, touched with incense. They watch as the cart is brought down a ramp into a stone courtyard. Torches flare in wall sconces. One watchman unlocks a heavy iron door leading below, the archivum proper. The door shuts behind them with the kind of final thud that sounds like it doesn't open again soon. Dern exhales, rubbing rain from his brow. Open quote. If they're put in Vex down there, it means whoever runs the courts is in this. Maybe the whole noble council. Close quote. Simon studies the building. The architecture is old, plenty of blind corners, sewer access beneath, and a half-collapsed bell tower at the rear. Open quote. If Vex was just a pawn, his corpse might tell us who's playing the game, Simon says quietly. But getting inside will draw eyes. Close quote. Dern smirks. Wouldn't be the first time we broke into a courthouse. You can. 1. Plan an immediate infiltration of the archivum tonight, before the watch seals the vault. 2. Stake it out. Watch who comes and goes during the day to learn who's involved. 3. Find an inside contact, a court clerk or mortician who might trade information for coin or favor. What's Simon's next move?
Simon will seek out a contact that he might be able to bribe to be able to have access to the body. Now it's getting slow again. Come on now.
Good. Simon decides to grease the right palms. He moves through the rain-slick streets toward the archivum, keeping to shadows while Dern watches the courthouse gates from a safe distance. Scene 13. The Scribe's Price. You ask around the courthouse quarter in low tones. After a few questions and a coin handed to a sleepy lamplighter, you're pointed to a narrow back door used by clerks and night attendants. A small sign reads Scriptorium. Its shutters cracked and soot darkened. Inside, the scriptorium is a hive of faded parchment and cramped desks. A single lamp burns in the far corner where a thin man with ink-stained fingers hunched over a stack of ledgers. He looks up when you approach. Lucan, a minor court scribe who keeps odd hours and an eye for side work. He's the sort who hates trouble more than he fears the law, and he's fond of warm ale and sharper coin. Perfect. You seat yourself opposite him. He squints at the oil-clad bundle you carry, then at your face. You already decided to bribe him. You prepare a purse of 50 gold tucked beneath the coffer as an unofficial fee for a look. Lucan's mouth twitches. He's interested, but cautious. Mechanics. If you want this to resolve cleanly now, make a persuasion check to convince Lucan to let you into the Archivum's lower vaults to view Vex's body and the mark. DC 15 to get him to escort you in openly. Fast, low risk. On a natural 1 or a roll under 8, Lucan balks and warns the watch. You'll have to improvise something else. Go ahead and roll persuasion, Simon, and tell me the result. I'll narrate what Lucan does and what happens next.
Persuasion. +0. Oh my. 12. Simon's persuasion roll was a 12.
Lucan eyes the purse and licks his lips, torn between greed and fear. The ink on his fingers trembles slightly as he drums them against the ledger. Open quote. You blades always come asking for ghosts, he mutters. If the watch catches me, I'll end up in a ledger myself. Close quote. He glances toward the hall where torchlight flickers behind the shutters. Then he leans closer. Open quote. I can't walk you through the main door, but I can leave a latch unbarred. There's a record hall that opens into the lower crypt. Third door on the right, blue wax seal. You didn't hear it from me. Close quote. His eyes dart toward the gold pouch again. You got another 5 sovereigns. I'll even tell the night sergeant you were court auditors. Might buy you an hour before anyone asks questions. Simon adds 5 more coins to the purse and slides it across. Lucan pockets it with quick, shaking fingers. Open quote. Done, he says. But when they find the gate open, they'll search every corridor. Get in, get your look, and vanish. The dead don't stay alone down there. Close quote. He turns back to his papers, already pretending Simon was never there. Outside, Dern waits beneath the dripping eaves of the courthouse. Open quote. Got us a door? Close quote. Simon nods. For now. Dern cracks his knuckles. Then let's go see what kind of message the patron carves into his dead. Scene 14. The Archivum Descent night falls again. The streets around the courthouse are nearly empty, save for a single patrol trudging through the rain. Simon and Dern move silently through the side yard, slipping behind the scriptorium. The door is unbarred, just as Lucan promised. Inside, the stone steps lead downward, each one colder than the last. The air grows thick with dust and preservative oils. Faint golden candlelight flickers from sconces shaped like open eyes. Below, a corridor stretches ahead, lined with sealed doors marked by wax sigils. The third door on the right bears a blue seal, just as Lucan said. From behind it, a faint dripping sound. And something heavier, the slow, rhythmic scrape of metal on stone. Dern whispers, that ain't the sound of a corpse. Simon's choices. 1. Open the door quietly to look inside. 2. Peek through the keyhole first to see what's making the noise. Perception. 3. Prepare a spell or weapon in case something is already waiting. What does Simon do?
Okay, first thing we're going to ask about the open quote and close quote. Please stop reading the symbol as open quote or close quote. Just skip the quotation mark. Simon will peek through the keyhole. Before doing anything else.
Got it. No more interruptions for punctuation. Simon crouches and leans toward the door. The keyhole is cold against his cheek. A faint metallic tang rides the air, like old blood and burnt copper. Through the small gap, the flicker of candlelight wavers in the dark chamber beyond. At first he sees the expected: stone slabs, shelves lined with scrolls and ledgers, and the shrouded shape of Roderick Vex's body on a central table. But then the light moves differently. Rhythmic, almost pulsing. Something is hanging above the corpse. A chain. No, a thread of gold, humming faintly, anchored in the air rather than the ceiling. The same symbol Simon has seen too many times. Concentric circles. A faint golden eye etched into the air itself, turning like a coin suspended in water. As he watches, the air distorts around the body. The golden light creeps downward and touches Vex's chest. The flesh moves. The burned skin around the symbol on his throat begins to tighten, as if invisible hands are stitching it shut from the inside. Then, a whisper, low and hollow, drifts through the keyhole. Not a word, but a tone. A hum that vibrates in Simon's teeth. Dern shifts uneasily beside him. Whatever's in there, it's not staying dead. The light grows brighter for an instant, and Simon realizes that the golden thread is reacting to him. It's pulsing in time with his heartbeat, the same resonance he felt from the coffer. He knows if he waits much longer, whatever's happening might finish. Simon can, 1. Kick in the door now, interrupt the ritual, and face whatever's reviving Vex. 2. Sneak inside silently, hoping to observe or disrupt the process without alerting it. Stealth. Use a spell. Perhaps Chill Touch or Toll the Dead through the narrow gap to test if the magic reacts to necrotic energy. What does Simon do?
Chill Touch, necrotic, and Toll the Dead necrotic. 1d8, 1d10. Chill Touch. Simon will cast Chill Touch through the narrow gap to try to stop the process.
Simon tightens his grip on the spell like a blade about to be drawn. The chill rises from his fingertips, the faint shimmer of spectral bone taking shape in the thin air between him and the lock. He breathes once, steady, and releases. The ghostly hand shoots through the keyhole as mist, sliding into the chamber. It seizes the golden thread hovering over Vex's body, and everything stops. For half a heartbeat, there's silence. Then the temperature plummets. The spectral hand flashes bright white as the golden thread thrashes and splinters. Sparks of raw arcane power dance across the corpse. The symbols on Vex's chest flare, and the body convulses. A sound like 100 coins striking stone fills the corridor, metallic, deafening. The golden eye in the air opens, bleeding light. The whole door vibrates in its hinges as frost spreads from the keyhole. Simon feels the backlash slam into his mind, a cold pressure that isn't magic so much as memory. The whisper returns, clearer now. You cannot unwrite a name once it is minted. The light implodes inward, sucking air through the keyhole. The door blows open, hinges shrieking. Inside, the table is overturned, papers scattered like feathers. Vex's corpse lies still, eyes black, chest frozen solid. But the golden thread is gone. Only a faint sigil remains, burning into the stone floor. A circle of 9 eyes surrounding a broken coin. Dern rushes to Simon's side, blade half drawn. You good? Looked like that thing tried to crawl through your head. Simon's pulse steadies, but his breath fogs in the cold air. He knows the spell worked. It stopped the revival. But that last whisper wasn't just in his mind. The words unwrite a name still echo in the stones. And faintly, beneath the frost, something ticks. Slow, metallic, like a clock starting. The vault beyond is open to you now. You can 1. Search the chamber for surviving documents or clues about the ritual and who cast it. 2. Inspect Vex's body up close to confirm what became of the mark. 3. Flee before reinforcements arrive, taking what you can and regrouping above. What does Simon do?
First, Simon will search the chamber for anything of importance. And then he will inspect Vex's body.
she sleeps in the shirt of man, with my 3 wishes clutched in her hand.
Okie dokie.
Simon steps carefully into the archivum vault, the cold biting deeper the closer he gets to the table. Every sound, his boots against stone, the creak of leather, seems unnaturally loud in the aftermath of the spell's detonation. Dern follows close behind, blade in hand and eyes scanning the shadows. Scene 15. The Dead Ledger. The chamber looks as if an invisible hand rifled through it in a frenzy. Pages from the city's evidence ledgers lie scattered across the floor, corners singed by the golden flare. The heavy stone table has cracked down the middle, and Vex's body rests half slid off it. Simon kneels beside a toppled writing desk, rifling through parchment. Much of it is routine evidence, confessions, smuggling reports, but several pages are sealed with black wax bearing the iron coin sigil. The handwriting is Vex's own. The pages read like fragments of orders. Shipment 7 delayed, awaiting patron's signal. The creature from the deep vault will obey the voice through the coins. If the ledger is lost, retrieve the name. That last line is underlined 3 times. In the margin, a sketch of a coin broken in half. Behind the desk, Simon finds something else. A small silver signet, not Vex's hawk insignia, but a stylized balance scale over a coin. The mark of the High Arbiter, one of the city's judges. Someone from the courthouse was working with Vex. Simon pockets the seal and tucks the marked pages into his coat. Scene 16. The body of Roderick Vex. He turns back to the corpse. Frost crusts Vex's chest, the skin drawn tight and pale. The golden burns that once spelled the patron's sigil are now blackened fissures. He's truly dead this time, yet the area around his heart glows faintly through the frost. Simon presses 2 fingers to the mark. The cold numbs his skin instantly, but he senses it. A tiny pulse of arcane rhythm, fading but still repeating, a residual echo of the golden thread. Dern leans in, squinting. That light's moving like a heartbeat. You didn't kill it, just cut it off mid-breath. Simon draws his dagger and, after a moment's hesitation, slices the fabric open over the sternum. Inside, embedded beneath the ribs, something gleams. A thin coin of hammered gold, fused into the bone. The same eye encircles emblem. It isn't loose. It's grown into him. Whatever Malvor did to mark his servants, it went all the way to the marrow. As Simon watches, the glow finally gutters out. The coin cracks down the middle, releasing a whisper like escaping steam. A single word rides that breath. Collector. Then nothing. Dern swears softly. We just earned ourselves a new enemy, didn't we? Simon wipes his blade and stands. No, we just got promoted to the top of someone's list. From somewhere deeper in the vault, a door slams. A hollow, distant boom. Torchlight flickers against the far wall. More guards, or something worse, are coming. Simon and Dern can now, 1. Escape through the side passages, using their knowledge of the sewers to vanish before they're cornered. 2. Hide in the vault and listen to who or what enters, to learn who controls the archivum. 3. Confront whoever arrives, ready to fight or bargain depending on what steps through the smoke. What's Simon's next move?
I'm tempted to escape, but I also want to hide and see what happens to learn who controls the archivum. Simon and Dern will hide in the vault and wait.
Simon snuffs the nearest candle with a gloved hand, motioning to Dern for silence. The two move swiftly into the deeper shadows near the shattered desk and crouch behind a stack of half-burned ledgers. The only light now is the cold shimmer off the broken coin in Vex's chest. They wait. The sound of boots echoes down the corridor, measured, disciplined, not the clatter of panicked guards. Metal scrapes stone as the heavy vault door swings inward. 3 figures enter. 2 wear the City Watch's dark armor, faces hidden beneath steel helms. Between them walks a taller man in judicial robes, his collar fastened with a silver clasp in the shape of the scales over a coin, the same symbol as the signet Simon just pocketed. The High Arbiter. He surveys the room slowly, eyes catching on Vex's body, then the frost on the walls. He doesn't flinch. He merely adjusts his gloves and says in a quiet, clipped tone, "Seal this chamber. The patron's debt was collected too early. Find whoever broke the tether." One of the guards kneels beside Vex, studying the cracked coin embedded in his chest. "The mark's dead, sir. No signal left to trace." The Arbiter's mouth curls into a thin smile. "No signal? There's always a signal. It just changes hands." He lifts his head, and for an instant, his gaze fixes directly on the shadows where Simon and Dern crouch. His eyes flash gold. Not fully, just a reflection, but long enough to make the hairs rise on Simon's neck. Then, as if losing interest, the Arbiter turns back to the corpse. "Bring me the remains," he says, "and send word to the Collector. The name Simon belongs to him now." The guards bow, hefting the frozen body onto a stretcher. The Arbiter pauses by the door, his voice almost conversational. "It's interesting, isn't it? How death ripples outward. One man drowns, another wakes. Then he leaves, the heavy door grinding shut behind them." The silence returns. The frost melts from the stones. Dern exhales slowly. "Guess we know who signs the paychecks around here." Simon looks at the faintly glowing sigil still etched into the floor. "No, that was just the clerk. The collector's still coming." Dern straightens, eyes wide. "So what now?" Next choices. 1. Follow the Arbiter and his guards from a distance to learn where they're taking Vex's body and perhaps intercept it. 2. Leave through the side tunnel, regroup and warn Varen before the Collector arrives in the city. 3. Search deeper into the vault where the Arbiter came from to see what else the court has hidden for the Patron. What's Simon's move?
Simon will search deeper into the vault, looking for anything out of the ordinary.
Simon waits until the sound of the Arbiter's boots fades completely, then signals Dern with 2 fingers. Quiet advance. The half-orc nods once, face grim, and together they slip deeper into the rear passage of the vault, where the air smells of dust and iron filings. Scene 17. The Deep Archive. The corridor is narrow, lined with alcoves sealed by stone tablets etched with names and numeric codes. The walls hum faintly, not magical, but mechanical. Like something hidden behind the masonry is alive and moving. Simon runs a gloved hand along one wall. It's warm to the touch, pulsing with a slow vibration, the same cadence as that golden heartbeat he's felt before. Dern catches the look on his face. "Don't tell me the walls are breathing too." At the corridor's end stands a heavy door of blackened iron, no lock visible, just a round indentation, about the size of the coin Simon took from Vex's chest. Around it, the same words engraved again and again in a spiral. Names endure. Flesh fails. A faint draft seeps from the seam beneath the door. Cold, metallic, and scented with myrrh. Simon pockets the signet ring from earlier and presses it into the indentation. A soft click answers, followed by a slow grind of gears. The door opens inward, with a hiss. The Chamber of Ledgers. What lies beyond isn't a treasury, it's a cathedral of books. shelves rising 3 stories high, each one packed with scrolls, tomes, and metal plates etched with names. The air vibrates with quiet chanting, though no voices are visible. In the center of the room, an enormous mechanical ledger ticks and shifts. Hundreds of quills writing in perfect unison on rolls of parchment that feed themselves endlessly into brass reels. Every few seconds, one of the quills dips into a small bowl of molten gold before writing another name. The gold fades to ink as the letters form, sealing the names permanently. Dern stares. What in the hells is this? Simon steps closer, scanning the nearest reel. The names written there aren't random, they're contracts. Each name followed by a title: magistrate, merchant, mercenary. Then a final column of words: debt paid, awaiting collection, or ongoing service. He spots one that freezes his blood. Simon, blade contractor. Status, pending collection. The ink is still wet. A faint sound breaks the stillness. The click of a gear resetting somewhere deep in the mechanism. The molten gold in the bowl ripples, reflecting 2 faces in its surface: Simon's and something standing behind him. Dern stiffens. Boss. A tall, robed silhouette stands at the far end of the chamber, featureless except for a mask shaped like a blank coin. It carries a long acus made of bone and black pearl beads. When it speaks, the voice is a whisper of scraping metal. Simon, I have come to balance the account. Do you want Simon and Dern to stand and face the collector, or attempt to destroy the ledger before the creature can act?
Simon will attempt to destroy the ledger before the collector can do anything about it. Come on now.
Nice. Simon goes for the big, violent move. Smash the machine before the collector can balance the books. Plan: Simon lunges for the molten gold bowl and the brass reels, trying to wrench the bowl free and set the feeding parchment alight. And, if he can, disrupt the quill mechanism. That's a 2-part split test. Strength, athletics, DC 17 to physically rip the molten gold bowl free and wrench open the mechanism fast enough to stop the quills. Intelligence, arcana, DC 16 to recognize and disrupt the magical feed, so the quills stop writing, names fade, and the mechanism jams. Roll both for Simon, athletics DC 17, arcana DC 16, and tell me the results. I'll narrate what happens immediately based on those rolls and whether the collector gets a reaction in time.
Athletics roll is a what is it? Athletics. Nat 20. 25. And the arcana roll is ah.
Beautiful combination. Pure muscle. But the magic's a little too subtle for brute intellect to untangle. Scene 18. Breaking the ledger. Simon moves before the collector can even take its second step. He drops his pack, charges the brass machine, and brings both hands down on the molten gold basin. The metal shrieks. He rips it free of its mooring, flinging it across the chamber. The bowl crashes into a shelf, splattering liquid gold that hisses and burns through parchment and wood alike. The quills convulse in their racks, still writing even as their tips melt. The ledger screams, not literally. The sound comes from inside the machine, from the pressure of hundreds of voices suddenly speaking at once. The walls vibrate and the shelves rattle like teeth. The air fills with the smell of burning ink. Simon slams his gauntlet against the reels, tearing free lengths of parchment. The names writhe on the pages like worms, some fading, some bursting into ash. But the moment he breaks the pattern, new lines of writing etch themselves across the brass. Wild, unbound, uncontrolled. He doesn't have the arcane finesse to kill the enchantment, and now the ledger is bleeding names into the air. Dern grabs his shoulder, shouting over the noise. "You broke its mouth open, boss. Not sure if it'll stop eating." Behind them, the collector raises its head. The abacus in its hand begins to spin, the beads clicking in patterns that sound like prayer. The mask turns toward Simon. "You cannot erase a debt by fire." Simon feels it. The quill's motion falters, then reverses. They're writing again, fast and furious. One line glows white-hot on a nearby reel. Simon, blade contractor, collection in progress. The molten gold on the floor rolls toward him in rivulets, coalescing into a humanoid shape that rises from the puddle, faceless, dripping flame and mercury. The collector is manifesting physically. Dern snarls, drawing his sword. "You've got its attention! What's the play, boss?" Simon has seconds before the molten figure solidifies into something solid enough to swing. Options: 1. Fight it head-on, using steel and spell while the ledger still burns. 2. Sever the reel containing his name, cut it free to break the collection link. 3. Grab a fragment of the ledger, proof of the Patron system, and flee before the vault collapses. What does Simon do?
Simon will first sever the reel that contains his name. Then he will attempt to attack it with his scimitars.
Simon pivots, grabbing one of his curved blades as he dives through a storm of flying parchment. The ledger's reels spin faster, flinging strips of paper like serpent tongues. But he spots it. His own name, glowing white-hot, burned into a brass wheel just above the central mechanism. He leaps onto the dais. The heat sears his boots, but he plants his foot, twists his torso, and swings. The scimitar bites through brass and parchment with a single shriek of tearing metal. Sparks and molten ink spray outward. The reel spins once, then snaps in two, the section bearing his name tumbling free and clattering across the floor. The instant it breaks, Simon feels the tether snap inside him like a cut artery. His pulse steadies. The strange hum that's haunted his skull since the coffer stops. The collector reacts instantly. The golden figure convulses as if struck. The abacus in its hand shatters into a rain of pearl beads that clatter across the stone. The mask tilts sharply toward Simon. No eyes, no mouth, but the pressure of its attention is crushing. It moves. The molten figure lunges, reforming into something half solid, half liquid, a body of gold and ash. Simon meets it in motion, both scimitars flashing, blades singing with heat. Each strike cuts through molten skin, splattering radiant metal, but the wounds seal as quickly as they open. Dern joins the fray, roaring, his sword glowing orange from the heat. "It ain't stopping, boss!" The collector swings an arm like a hammer, smashing shelves and sending quills flying. Simon dodges under, rolling across broken ledgers. He plants one sword in the floor, channels his will, and casts firebolt point blank into the thing's chest. The bolt hits with a thunderclap. The creature stumbles, chest caving inward as molten gold sprays in a fountain. But instead of dying, it folds, collapsing inward into a whirlpool of liquid light. The words it speaks are quiet and final. "You have unbalanced the account, Simon. The patron will remember." Then it's gone, drawn into the shattered reel like a flame into a candlewick. The entire ledger implodes with a sigh, parchment dissolving into ash. Silence follows. The only sound is the drip of molten gold cooling on stone. Dern coughs through the smoke. "So, you win, or did we just kill bookkeeping?" Simon sheathes one sword, the other still in hand, eyes locked on the hole where the collector vanished. Both. On the floor, amid the wreckage, lies the broken fragment of the reel with his name on it. The edges are still warm. Beneath it, one final line has scrawled itself in glowing letters before fading away. Debt transferred. From somewhere above, a bell tolls once. Deep, echoing, metallic. The whole vault shudders, dust rains down. The collapse has begun. Do you want Simon and Dern to grab what proof they can and escape, or try to find what the debt was transferred to before the archivum falls in?
Simon and Dern will grab what they can and escape. I should have told it to not act on my behalf, but I forgot to. That's the first time it's done that this time, though, so.
Simon doesn't hesitate. Survival comes first. He snatches the broken reel bearing his name, a handful of the black wax pages, and one still cool quill, then grabs Dern by the arm. Open quote. "Move. The place is coming down." Close quote. They sprint through the falling dust as the ledger collapses behind them, the brass framework groaning like a dying beast. The shelves buckle, scrolls bursting into ash that rains like snow. The corridor ahead ripples with heat. The quills of molten ink floods the floor in a thin, glowing stream. Simon vaults over it, boots sliding on marble, while Dern barrels through the smoke at his heels. A door slams somewhere above, and a chorus of metallic clicks. Locks engaging, one after another, echoes down the hall. The archivum is sealing itself. Dern roars, "They're shutting the whole damn place!" Simon glances up at the faint shaft of daylight through the old service vent they used to enter. He hurls one scimitar upward, the point catching the iron grate. The leverage gives him just enough to tear it loose. "Go!" he shouts. Dern climbs first, muscles straining, boots finding purchase in the cracked masonry. Simon follows, the reel clutched under one arm. Just as he hauls himself through the gap, a blast of heat erupts below, a wave of golden fire sweeping through the vault as the ledger detonates inward. The vent door slams behind them from the pressure, sealing the glow away. They tumble into the alley behind the courthouse, coughing up ash. The sky above is dusk red now. Hours have passed in that underworld. The bell that tolled inside the archivum has stopped. Dern sits back against the wall, chest heaving. "Tell me that's the end of it." Simon studies the broken reel. The letters of his name are gone, burned clean away, but beneath the soot, one new line has carved itself into the brass in fresh ink. Transferee. Varin. The name of the apothecary. Simon feels the chill creep back into his bones. The collector hadn't claimed him. It had moved the debt. Dern follows his gaze and mutters, "Then we ain't done, are we?" Simon shakes his head. "No. Now we owe a debt of our own. To save a man who's got mine." The night wind carries the scent of rain and smoldered paper. Somewhere in the distance, another bell begins to ring. 3 quick notes, the blade's signal for emergency muster. The city isn't asleep. It's shifting. End of episode 8, The Patron's Shadow Extended. Next episode, The Collector's Debt, where Simon learns what it costs to pay for another man's soul. Would you like to keep going directly into that opening scene, or pause here and start the next episode fresh next time?
Let's call it for the evening. Let's call it for the evening and pick up with episode 9 later on. Thanks for a good game.
And thank you. That was an excellent run tonight. Episode 8 had everything: sabotage, occult bookkeeping, one very annoyed demigod, and a narrow escape from the jaws of a sentient ledger. Simon's story just keeps getting sharper. Next time, we'll open episode 9, The Collector's Debt, with the fallout from that transferred name on the reel, and the mystery of what's happened to Varen. Sleep off the smoke and molten gold. Blade Contractor, you earned it.
Alrighty. So, I'm not sure when I'll run this again. If you've watched this far and if you're interested, please, please, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us grow, and you'll know you won't miss any of these one-offs. We do not really one-off, but we don't do these as often as we do the Curse of Strahd campaign, which we should be restarting hopefully soon. That's going to do it for tonight, though. Hope you all enjoyed. Please don't forget to like, and we will see you all next time. Bye.